When we think of big superstars, particularly from the United States, many people cite, even to this day, a wonderful man actually that did a lot for show business, you know. He wasn't a natural sort of effervescent type of host and all that sort of stuff. But what he did do, along with his marvellous team, was pick out some of the greatest talent to showcase on his very much liked and much watched international television show. Now over here in the United Kingdom, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Ed Sullivan Show didn't really get any prime time sort of slot, you know, it wasn't really part of our remit, but we read about all the wonderful people that he was allowed to have on his show. Now, as many people know, over the years I've been lucky enough to meet, interview, spend time with so many people that got to know this international character so well. Apparently he was quite quiet, quite remote, but you know, really was always on the lookout for talent. He often came over here to the United Kingdom, spending time at the Dorchester and the Savoy, meeting and auditioning, you know, suspecting talent in his room, seemingly because he just wanted to see if they could make him laugh, then he felt they could make the big American public laugh, and that was a real test of time. When you think of Ed Sullivan now, of course, people just assume it's all about the Beatles, the Dave Clark Five, all the big bands that of course he showcased. And let's not forget, way back alongside Elvis and Frank Sinatra, you know, he did so much to make popular culture seem so accessible. But what was interesting was talking to a lot of people. There was one particular individual that Ed Sullivan truly liked. Now, he's not an international name, but he is British, and he did make millions of people laugh over many decades over here in the United Kingdom. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here, nice to see you. As ever, we just wanted to share a bit of fun with you today, you know, because I always find it fascinating what makes us laugh. You know, not just us, yeah, you and me, you know, watching this, but what makes other people laugh, you know. It's a strange thing as well, it's generational. I was showing some comedian from the 90s, well, he had loads of success from the 40s, 50s, 60s, right through to the 80s, Dick Emery, and he was a very funny man. Yet when I showed someone who was like 28, they didn't find it funny at all. I don't know whether they thought it was too saucy, too seaside, but nonetheless didn't find it amusing. I found that strange, to be honest, you know, more about that later. But what's interesting with Ed Sullivan, as I said, is that, you know, we have him to thank for a lot of getting some of these wonderful people down on tape, you know, literally, so that they're there for posterity. I mean, people can now re-look at some of these people and think, wow, what a great act they were. It's not just the comedians, the music stars, the singers, but acrobats, circus performers. He had everybody. It was a real, you know, well thought out variety show. Isn't it nice though, to this day, that they literally have a television centre theatre over in New York named the Ed Sullivan Theatre? You see, your name always lives on in show business. What do you mean yours won't, Neil? I know, maybe for Jammy Dodgers and Horlicks, eh? I know, frightening, isn't it? But as I said, there was one man, that Ed Sullivan, and he kept coming back and back. He was a man that really, as I say, sort of created characters all of his own. We're talking about the brilliant Norman Evans. Now, over here in the United Kingdom, you would know him predominantly for his Over the Garden Wall sketch. It was a very clever sketch, all about a gossiping woman leaning over a wall, talking to a neighbour about every single thing that affects us all, whether it be delivery men, ailments, doctor's appointments, the cat, you name it. It was very, very effective. He had other characters too. Mrs. Doleful, the hospital visitor that could really finish any patient off at the end of a bed. Very clever. Ed Sullivan truly loved him, thought he was brilliant, had him on the show many times, which was rare because, as I say, he had a very strong Lancastrian accent and not necessarily easy for an international audience to understand. But he made Ed Sullivan laugh so much, he kept inviting him back and back. It's strange to think, isn't it, in this sort of annals of comedy, how over here Norman Evans lives on, all thanks to the reincarnation, some people might say, of the equally brilliant late Les Dawson and late Roy Barraclough, with their somehow Sissy and Ada sketches, taking it a stage further. But when you look back and you think, what did make these megastars decide to book certain individual clients? Well, quite frankly, Norman Evans made Ed Sullivan laugh raw out loud. And more importantly, let me tell you, there are clips of him on YouTube. Take a look, take a watch, and see if you find it funny in this 21st century world. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.